What a week it's been, from Helldivers fiasco and Sony not knowing which way to turn, seeking help from all directions, Microsoft coming in with that "I've got you fam, let's do this," and well, the shitstorm that today stirred up is pretty damn special, with them closing down technically 3 studios. Well, they've closed down 4, but one of them was absorbed with no layoffs. The other one had potentially half of their staff saved, whereas the other 2, including Ninja Theory, were shut down. But it seems the community was not pleased, and they took their anger out, it seems, on Phil Spencer's camp over at Fallout 76. They literally nuked it out of displeasure. So when Phil Spencer turns up to his camp, he's gonna find it's not got a lot going on there. But you know, from that situation to Unleashed again trying to bet me again, this time I obviously didn't engage in this bet because I, unlike him, do not want to see another studio shut down. But this is the way that, you know, I'm seeing a lot of PlayStation fans going. This is actually quite disrespectful and quite insensitive. The fact that you would actually turn around and actually put a bet like this really says how much of a, you know, weird person you are. But I never thought I'd see Nick turning around and wanting Xbox to succeed so Sony can stop doing their scummy practices and you know, anti-consumer ways by wanting Xbox to succeed and actually compete. He says here that he may troll about and everything, but he does want a good Xbox, because at the end of the day, that stops Sony and their anti-consumer ways, because at that point, when there's competition, there's choice. So when you've got Nick here also championing for change for Xbox, you know it's been a really, really odd week. But it seems to have gotten from weird to weird. Now, obviously here we have this one over here, and Green Man Gaming is basically saying that they are refunding any person that buys Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut in one of those 177 countries that do not support PSN. They are outright, you know, refunding people their money and giving it back. And as you can see, Pirate Nation here, Ghost of Tsushima is no longer available in countries without PSN and is being removed from the stores in those regions, even if you just want to play single player. Now, I don't know if this is 100% true. I was speaking to someone today and they said it was on their store and they are in one of the affected countries, and on Steam it was available with a caveat that PSN is required for the multiplayer aspect, but it was still available for them to buy and they could buy it. Now, obviously, at the end of the day, if they try to buy it and it doesn't go through, there are other means for you to acquire it, and if it's not legally sold in the country, well, that's Sony's loss, no one else's, and it is what it is. But after all of that, we come back to the news of course, Game Pass and Call of Duty. That's been one of the big things doing the rounds today, and the fact that Call of Duty may not be day and date with, you know, Game Pass. Now, if you haven't seen Paris's video, it's worth checking out. I did do like a breakdown of that, well, a reaction to it on my stream today, so if you want to see that, let me know in the comment section below. I can cut it, or you can just go check it out from the stream. And, you know, there's a lot to digest here, but at the end of the day, the talk of a price increase I don't think is possible, because they promised the FTC that they wouldn't do a price increase. Now, I don't know the duration of how long that was going to be in place, whether it was 1 year or 2 years, but if it's over a year, then that is still in place. But what this means is that they can actually introduce a new tier. Now, asking my stream today, I asked them, you know, what would you be happy to pay for an ABK tier? Now, in the UK, we had up to £20 a month. Now, that is a staggering £7 increase from where we are right now. And that's a lot of money, by the way. A big increase. That's almost like, what, a 60%, 70% increase, 75% increase? It's a lot. In the US, people were giving roughly about $20 to $25 per month, but that would actually create a new tier that would allow Call of Duty to be on there. Now, I've been having this debate for a while now with Call of Duty potentially not being on Game Pass because of how big it is and just how much revenue will be lost. Now, if they can get like 2-3 million subs coming along, maybe 5 million subs coming along, I think that would kind of offset some of that. But those would also need to be new consumers that are not from the PlayStation category, because you also want them to buy it and bring in that revenue as well. So the debate, I assume, that's happening is probably going on, and it's going to be going on for a while until they actually decide. Or what they can do is introduce a, get rid of Game Pass as a tier, get rid of PC Game Pass and just leave Game Pass Ultimate, Game Pass Ultimate with ABK, those two tiers, and then add a third one that is basically, I guess, just Game Pass, and it will just remove the day and date games and have the games come into the catalog 3 to 6 months later, and that would be at a cheaper price. So you've essentially got what Game Pass is now, but it would have the live enabled, and it would basically remove the day and date and make them come in like 3 to 6 months later, maybe 6 months, to offset it, to encourage people to go to the higher tiers. I think that would work, and that would be a better option. But if they don't put Call of Duty onto Game Pass, then at that point I think they should just scrap Game Pass. Personally, that's my opinion. Whether Phil wants to do that, from what we're reading and what we're seeing, he's really fought tooth and nail to make this work. So I don't believe that Phil wants this to fail, wants this to stop working, and he really believes in the Game Pass system. It just needs to work better. It needs to entice people to come on board and just bring in more subscriptions, and maybe adding a tier that can entice people at a lower end, but also offer a lot of the good stuff, if not the premium stuff, but a lot of the good stuff that Xbox has in that tier. Then that could potentially be a good way. Of course, getting rid of your studios is probably not the best way to actually encourage or bring forward, support, bring forward like trust in your company, because at the end of the day, it seems like, according to Bloomberg, there are more Xbox cuts coming across the organization. This comes after closing down Arcane Austin, Tango Works, and other Bethesda studios. Now, there is talk that apparently Bethesda CEO was the one that instigated these studio shutdowns. We'll never know the truth where it is. At the end of the day, it's easier to blame Microsoft for this because it gets you more clicks. But it very well could be Microsoft. But there was like a couple of posts that I saw that actually said that it was the ZeniMax CEO that was the one that instigated it. But like I said, we'll never know the truth. But as you can see here, Xbox Game Pass has also not seen the growth that leadership had been hoping for. If they had like 50, 60, 70 million subs right now, things would be a lot different. But unfortunately, they did not. And that's the problem. Without that growth, it's creating a problem. But as we have no information on this as of right now, that's all we have for this. And if more cuts are coming underway, I really hope it's not as brutal as shutting studios down. But with the way things are going, they are being more and more ruthless as it goes. And I really hope that they don't take the approach of EA, where one failure means that the studio is gutted, destroyed, and removed from existence. That is just not the way, especially after you've gone on a spending spree and bought all of these. If you didn't plan for this, or didn't plan for any hiccups, these studios shouldn't be the ones paying the price for that. Put them up for sale. Put them up, give them a choice to go elsewhere or be acquired by someone else. Don't just actively just destroy them and remove them from existence. That's all I'll have to say for that. But we do have the mobile store that Microsoft has been talking about, and that is indeed coming this July. The Microsoft mobile app store is coming, and as you can see there, this is just a mock-up, and I only picked this one here because I like the mock-up. It's pretty cool. But the mobile app store for Microsoft is coming. We're going to be seeing a bunch of Xbox games on here, from potentially Sea of Thieves, Forza, and others that are going to be on the store for you to actually play. We don't really know much about it. It is coming in July, so I suspect we're going to see more about this at the June showcase. Now, we're done with the Xbox stuff. Let's jump onto the Switch stuff, because the Switch stuff is pretty spicy. Now, there's Switch 2 hardware from the shipment information seems to be making the rounds on family boards. Again, take this with a grain of salt as always, but the handheld will be right above a PS4 before DLSS. In a docked situation, it will be between the PS4 Pro and the Xbox Series S before DLSS, with more modern hardware than the former. So it'll have more modern hardware than the Pro, and I guess with DLSS, it can technically push ahead of the Series S. That's pretty impressive for what they're gonna do with this. The RAM is slower than the PS5 and the Xbox Series XS, but more capacity. It's got more capacity than the Xbox Series S. Should have around 10.5 to 11 gigabyte of RAM available to games. I think that's a missed opportunity. This should at least be 16 gigabytes, honestly, in this day and age. I know Nintendo do their own thing. I really think it's a missed opportunity if they're going to go and do this, because they should have at least 16 gigs of RAM. So they, if they want other games like Baldur's Gate potentially to be on this, they could actually work with 16 gigs of RAM, but 10, 11, just marginally above the Series S, and then you're going to have some problems. Storage, it says UFS 3.1's max speeds should be a hair under Series X and S's 2.1 gigabytes. So that's actually pretty cool. Still stay skeptical, of course, until Nintendo makes it official. But this is actually pretty damn powerful. 1080p 60 FPS should actually be possible, and that's pretty good. Asus ROG also announced their ROG Ally X, which I was a little disappointed about. The ROG Ally handheld model is an improved version. It's not really an Ally 2. It's going to have the same Z1 Extreme chipset and screen, so no OLED. That's my biggest disappointment, because I did want that. It's going to be a black handheld refined shell with a much bigger battery. So currently the ROG Ally at, on an intensive game lasts for about an hour and a half. They're saying it can potentially double that to up to 3 hours, which is pretty good. But if you're playing lighter stuff, you can get like 4, 5, maybe 6 hours out of it. It's going to be slightly heavier due to the larger battery, with revised grips, slight tunings to the D-pad, joysticks, triggers. Asus says Ally X should now have more than its current 16 gig of RAM, so we're looking 32 gigs of RAM. So that's going to be amazing, because it is running Windows, and the more RAM the better. It's going to have a longer M.2 2280 SSD slot, so that's actually good, because you can just buy an aftermarket standard one and fit that in yourself. Be more repairable, redesigned joystick modules that are interchangeable, great. The same exact SD card reader is used in its laptops with rearranged motherboard layout. Now you're probably asking, why is that a point here? Well, the original ROG actually bricked your SD cards because it was overheating, but that wasn't a hardware fault essentially. It was a software fault because it constantly ran it at max output. Ally X will start at a higher price than the original. The original ROG Ally will still be available and sold. But folks, that's pretty much the video. We've got a bit of Nintendo news, Asus ROG news, we've got lots of amusing news at the front, and of course the situation between Xbox and, well, what they're doing right now, and with the showcase coming, with Hellblade 2 on the horizon. Hopefully things are going to turn out okay. They're going to come out soon and make a statement. I really don't think it's wise for them not to come out and give us any form of direction on what they want to do, what they plan, before the event starts, because it's going to completely overshadow the event. Any game that potentially now comes to Game Pass, unless it says day one, which I don't think anything on the day is going to say that, it's just going to say coming to Game Pass. You will not be sure if that's going to be day one or not, and you just won't be sure if it is going to be day one unless expressly stated. And at that point, it starts to create confusion. So hopefully they'll come out and tell us exactly what it is that they want to do. So hopefully with that knowledge, then we'll understand where Call of Duty stands. We'll maybe get some information on the back compat catalog for Activision, which we're still waiting for. And hopefully the news of the studios shutting down were over-exaggerated or just fake. I'm hoping they're fake, because no one wants studios to shut down. But hey, if you're still upset, you can always go and nuke Phil's campaign in Fallout 76, because that's how people are taking their pain and frustration out on people. Alright folks, that's the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.